Welcome to my studio. Hello, creative friends. I am back from a weekend away, and usually when I travel, I don't bring, especially on the weekend, I don't bring lots of creative things with me. So I'm excited to get started. I have already chosen my papers, and it's kind of a yellowish palette this time. All sorts of magazine scraps and papers, some musical sheets and whatever. And so I suggest we're just gonna start. Let's see if it's recording. Yes, it is. Let's go. Hope you had a lovely week or weekend. I did. The weather is really nice. So I'm starting to glue very intuitively with usually some more dark or darker images in the corner. And I kind of like this, so I'm going to glue that at the bottom. Yeah, I can't wait to see where this journal spread is taking me. This is what is, for me at least, so much fun, that although I always kind of work in the same way, I have the same kind of process. It's never the same scraps, of course, but the same kind of process, more or less, and the result is never the same, never the same. And that's what I always love about this. It's kind of like therapy. It's coming back to myself. Working with your hands always brings you back into your body. And curious to see what I will create today. So I'm really just gluing down the scraps. A lot of this will be covered up, and I know that some of you are like, well, what's the point in gluing all these scraps down if you're going to cover them up anyway? Well, the reason is that these do create kind of a background and kind of like shapes and stuff, and those then guide me to paint the shapes that I see later on when there's layers of paint on them. So they might get covered up, but they do have a purpose of letting me find what I need to find. Some music. And what is this kind of art? It's mixed media, so I'm using different kind of media. I use paper scraps, which not really a medium, and then I use acrylic paints, mainly from the brand Golden. I use acrylic markers. I kind of want to keep that like this. See, I'm already gluing things on top of each other. And sometimes I use other markers. Sometimes I use acrylic inks as well. And these are scraps I created myself on some craft packing paper, just making marks with black paint or black ink. I never throw any packing paper away. I kind of like to use it to make my own kind of papers, the kind that you can't find in a magazine or in a book. So what else do we have here? Something more square. And how do I choose the colors? So this the scraps I just grab. It takes me like 15 seconds, not even. I just don't think and just grab whatever speaks to me in a palette that is kind of working together. Like here it's more yellow and blue, but you might want to have all sorts of colors of all of the entire rainbow, and that is fine. Yeah, this is my style. I invite you to choose your own scraps and see what happens. I've been doing this for years, so people say, yeah, but it looks so nice, and how you make this all come together. Sure. I've been doing this for many years. I've gone through phases where I hated my art, and so I really invite you to, you know, be gentle with yourself, be playful, and practice. Having a cup of tea. Always have to watch out I don't put my brushes in the tea. It has happened quite a few times. So now I am using my go-to Titan Buff from Golden, which is kind of a beige sandy colored thicker paint. It exists in, there is a thinner version, can't find it now, but here it is. Titan Buff, this is the thinner one. So this is more pasty and this is more liquid. And that's usually what I start with. And in this case, I have a palette knife. You can also use an old credit card. And I usually basically just take some of that paint and scrape it over mainly the white spots, but I do connect the the pages or the scraps that I glued down as well, because I want to kind of make it look like a whole a little bit. And some of it I start covering up, but some of it stays. And I'm just having a ball. I need to buy a new one. It's almost empty. And as I do this, you can see that, you know, some shapes start to emerge already. And when I use other colored paint later on, you will see that I will play with those shapes. I will use them to make my marks and to make my shapes and to create some diversity on my page. So for those of you who are wondering what kind of an art journal I use, or what kind of materials I use, I have a post on my Facebook page where I have a summary with links of all the materials I use, including my sketchbook here. It's a really basic A4 sketchbook with 170 gram paper that I ordered off Amazon from Artway. But any sketchbook is fine. You know, if you have something lying around at home that you don't use anymore, that's perfect. The main goal is that you start creating. So I've done my Titan Buff layer, and I want to do this kind of blue, but I don't want it to be blue. So what I like to use then is a color from Golden called Payne's Gray, Gris de Payne. And it's a mixture, of course, and although it's called Payne's Gray, when it comes out, it does look like a dark blue. So where did my palette go? Here's my palette. Let's see if I can shove this a bit around so that you can see my palette, which is a very old lid from something with already a lot of paint on it. And so I will put some paint on there, grab a brush, usually a little bit of a thicker brush, bigger brush, not a huge one, and I will put some water next to the paint that I just put on my palette to create some watery paint and keep the thick paint. And then I just start adding that, and I always tend to start at the bottom because the dark is already at the bottom, so I will just add some of the dark there. And see, the Titan Buff is not dry yet, so it kind of mixes, which I might want, I might not want, but it you know, I already start to create little shapes. I might want it, I might not want it. I might clean my brush if I don't want it. And then I just start to, you know, let my brush guide the way. Sometimes I already start creating shapes. Sometimes I'm concentrating on creating a little bit of harmony first. And I'm at this stage, I'm always a little bit all over the place. Like at the top, like wherever my eye wants to go and goes, here, put some paint here. Or here, create a circle here and make it a little bit go round like this. And who is that talking to me? I don't know. It's my 5-year-old, you know, the girl that didn't really ask any of the questions but just painted. And I love finding her back and listening to her. You know, when you're 5, you still don't have a lot of worries in your life, and your main priority is play and fun, and you know, and it's great to be that 5-year-old. You know, our lives are serious enough as it is, and so it can be very, at least for me, it's very relaxing to be back in my 5-year-old hands and mind. So yeah, I kind of liked, you know, I kind of like these here. So I'm kind of like, I want to create them with my brush because they were there. What do I do with this now? What else? What else? What else? Yeah, I think I want to do a circle here as well. And so yeah, so this usually takes a little bit of time to just cover up some of the bits, you know, and sometimes I use my fingers if I don't want the layers to be too thick. And I do want to color that craft paper a little bit, turn it a little bit into blue to harmonize it. Yeah, need some more of that blue. I like the blue and yellow palette that is coming alive here. So, and you can start creating with whatever palette is, you know, your favorite kind of colors. Now, when you're a beginner, I would advise you that you limit the colors. If you don't know a lot about color mixing, if you use a lot of colors, there's very often a tendency that it can, or it may happen that it turns into mud, because when you don't know much about color mixing, that can happen very easily. So here I'm using one color, and the other color, the yellow, is not a wet color because it's from the scraps, so that is not going to mix. But so that's what I encourage you to do, not to create too many colors with your paint at first. And if you want to mix them, just, you know, have a go on some pages in your art journal where you can play with that and see what happens if you mix this color with that color. And so it's not always very easy to talk while I paint, and that's what is also one of the benefits of art, is that your left thinking brain kind of switches off. So that kind of prevents me from talking sometimes. But I'm trying to keep you updated with what I do here. I'm just looking around and creating shapes, and I like floral landscapes. So those and those shapes always come back regularly. And so I do want to So you might say, but that looks like a mess. Yeah, but I'm not done yet. I'm not done there yet. So I still want to cover up some of that. Up. There we go. I do want to keep those. Might want to turn one into these. Oh, look. Yeah, that works. So going ahead and making some marks now with this brush. I'm still using the same brush, just creating some marks, and usually when I do it on that side, they look like little flower buds. Yeah, I might give them lines later, I might add something to them later. And this is usually when I stop a little bit and I stand up, because I'm sitting down. Now I'm standing up and I'm looking at this painting or at this page from above, so from a little bit of a distance, so that I can get a different perspective. And from up here, and sometimes I take a photo and look at the photo, because even a photo gives you a different look at what you've created. And you will start to notice certain things where you're like, oh, I need to, like here, I want to add some more darkness in this edge here. Do I want the whole thing? I kind of like that shape. I'm not sure what I will do with that shape, but I wanted to create a little bit more darkness in the corner. And see, I'm bleeding over into the next page. I don't mind. I like my art to be messy sometimes. Not sure what to do with that. There, more dark here, and let's see, kind of turn this disappear a little bit more. So now here on the side, there's a whole lot of white, which I'm going to make disappear. Voila. Some darker circles here. What am I going to do here? Those are shapes I kind of like, but I don't know what to do with them yet. So I will create some more dark on this side. For me, when I do that, it always kind of frames my page. And it gives it closes it in a bit. It's like, gives it some border and some, there we go. And now I'm looking, what else can I do? What else can I do? What do I like? Do I need to add some more marks somewhere? For me, there's still some darkness missing somewhere, and maybe that needs to go here. Yeah, and then maybe here. This kind of looks like an island. So I have no idea where this is not the end yet. Where is it going? Lead it a little bit with my fingers. So acrylic paint dries very fast, but if you're like, oh no, I don't like that, just dip your finger in water and you can still smush it around a bit. But once it's dry, then you just have to kind of cover it up with something else if you want to change the look or feel of it. So I like 2 dots here, so I'm gonna create another one here. There. Now, so sometimes when I'm not sure whether I want to keep something, I'm kind of like covering it to see, do I want to keep that? How does that? Ooh, then it's all gone. Maybe here I can leave only one, you know? I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. And once it's gone, it's gone. And we'll see. You might regret it. And that's fine too, because because there are no mistakes in art, and it's all part of the oeuvre that you're creating. It's all part of your learning. It's all part of your world and creativity. And so I love that this kind of art making lets you let go, or lets me anyway, let go of expectations, because I have no idea what I'm creating here. And I can play with what I see in the moment. I want to grab an acrylic pen, and so I use acrylic markers from either Posca or these are from Shuttle Art, and because I like them. And yes, as I said, there's links on that in my post. Come here, shaky. And so I saw these shapes here, so I'm gonna kind of like bring them out. And you can do that with a lighter color on dark or a darker color on light. Kind of like to do that. Not too enough. Do I need to? Kind of want to around on here. Add some highlights somewhere here, maybe some here. Oh. Let's see. Yeah, I need to go all the way to the bottom. There. It is. Okay. So maybe I need a dark pen. I'm going to take a black one, or am I going to stay with the blue? Now I don't of course have all the colors of blue that I have in paint in acrylic markers. So I usually pick one that kind of, you know, it's not the same. It's a bit much lighter and it has a bit of sort of like white in it, but it will do. So I just need to rub that away. Just wanted to show you what color that was. What was I going to do with that one? Maybe I want to move these little lines. Yeah, see, I'm going to move these little lines. I don't know if you can see that on the video, because the camera is a bit away from the... I'm just going to write some thin lines here to make these into blue flowers. And of course, I'm going to have to do that here as well. And I'm keeping my pen really loose, and I sometimes do it all the way down, but sometimes I don't. And that also creates the stems for these, but it also kind of creates a veil over the yellow, so it's not as present. There. How does that look? Oh, I like that. Yeah, so these are still too present and white for me, so I need to go and maybe this one's fine, but maybe the others are too white, so I'm gonna do something with them. What am I gonna do with them? I'm gonna take a thinner brush and I'm going to add some lines in them to give them another look. And that's fine for that one, but here I might just add some dots with my brush so that it looks like they're like seed things in seed pots or whatever in there. Yeah, that one can stay. What am I going to do with this? This is still too vague. Maybe I need to give it an outline that is darker. And then I kind of needed to have it on here as well. No precision, no, you know, just some And so now this here is good here, but here you can't really see those petals. So I'm gonna give them a shape here with white. Well, it's not really white. These don't have names, so I can't give you a name. They only have numbers on their caps. So now I want to, and it's often while I'm painting that I'm going, yeah, no, I'm gonna kind of let that go. I know it's still there, so it's not totally blue. This has to go too then, not completely, but a little bit more. How about that? Yeah. So now I need to make them stand out a bit more. So I'm going to create a border, darker border around it so that it stands out a bit more. There. She stands up and looks from above again. I think this is more or less, I'm happy with this side a bit. Keep this here. Don't know what I'm doing with here. Don't like this much yet, so it's not done yet. What am I going to do here? What am I going to do there? Am I going to draw another flower there? What does it need? Maybe it needs one of these, but then I don't have a yellow background, so decisions. Maybe I'll just do it anyway, like this. And yes, I just drew these two shapes, but they're just going to create the background of this thing here. There we go. So they're still behind it, and I don't mind that they kind of, yeah. Thinking. Just creating some. Maybe I want to kind of some shapes here that I outline them. They become a bit more present. So that's, I'm taking you through my thinking process here. That's basically my, speaking out loud what my brain is saying. And so that's a different kind of blue here. So I do want to, so maybe that's where I want to create connections we have it here, but it's very thin, but we do have it here a bit more prominently. So I do want to, and maybe it needs to come here so that they talk to each other, so that it doesn't, that the eye doesn't get drawn, ooh, what's that kind of blue, so that it can travel the eye. So I'm going to add a few here as well. And maybe some dots on this funny shape, whatever that is. Yeah. Yeah, maybe they need to be a bit more funny looking. Yeah, maybe they need some lines as well. Maybe not, but there they are now. Floral, blue, yellow landscape. And this is where I'm usually stopping and saying, okay, I'm done between brackets, because I'm not 100% done. What I might do now is take a gel pen. This is a jelly roll from Japan, or Jelly Roll 05 from the brand, doesn't say, Jelly Roll maybe. These are my favorite ones. They're the Uniball. So I use Uniball a lot. I have them in all sorts of colors. I use this pen a lot, which is the Uniball I, which I use for writing in my notebooks. And this is the Uniball Signo, and the Signo comes in all sorts of colors as well. And I use the white a lot, or the Jelly Roll white, to really go and sort of create little details, you know, like little dots maybe, or little shapes, just to add some more things to certain areas that are still kind of unfinished, maybe, you know. And maybe it's this shape or that shape, it doesn't really matter. Sometimes it's just like that. Yeah. And I might still add some details here, like there is some, you know, I might, like when you hold it straight, it draws the straight white line, but if you hold it kind of like sideways, it kind of creates like here, like some branches or grass looking things that are not as thick as when you paint a hole. So I'm just kind of like scratching in the paint and giving the white a go. Maybe want to do that here as well. See how that creates like a bush now? That kind of has depth now because I'm creating a white something. So I might go circles around these things here. Oop, this is not dry yet. Where are the other ones? They're here. They're kind of covered now, so maybe some little bit of texture in here to talk to this one here. It doesn't have to be as precise, this one. I'm happy with messy. Yeah. So yeah, I think this is done. I'm happy with it. I hope you liked the creation of this and me taking you through it and my thought process. And I invite you to go and create an art journal page yourself. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'm always happy to answer them. And so yeah, go create. Happy creating.